Emma Raducanu handed damning triple concern days after quitting rest of her season. Emma Raducanu has officially ended her season early for health reasons, pulling out of her final two tournaments of the year. The 22-year-old visibly struggled in her last two matches and needed her vitals checked. Raducanu retired from the Wuhan Open, citing dizziness, and it's understood that she had been playing through illness. The British #1 has still put herself in a good position going into 2026, as she's extended her coaching agreement with Francis Roig, and she currently sits at number 29 in the world, having started the season ranked outside of the top 60. However, tennis fans have now suggested that things won't go to plan for Raducanu moving forward. The 2021 U.S. Open champion has made it clear that her immediate goal is to be seeded for January's Australian Open. Players ranked inside the top 32 when the draw is made the week before the tournament begins will be seeded, and Raducanu currently sits at number 29 in the world. There's still time for things to move around, but the Brit has at least given herself some breathing room in the rankings before ending her season. But 61% of Express Sport readers believe that Raducanu will not be seeded at the Australian Open, despite her current ranking. Raducanu has been given brutal draws at the four majors this year, missing out on a seeding every time, and wasn't able to make it into the second week. She lost to Iga Swiatek at the Australian Open and French Open, Aryna Sabalenka at Wimbledon, and Elena Rybakina at the U.S. Open. Being seeded would mean that Raducanu wouldn't have to face another top player until at least the third round. Express Sport readers also think that Raducanu won't be the next British player to win a title. Instead, an overwhelming 70% backed Jack Draper to be the one who will lift a trophy the soonest, even though he also ended his season early. Draper played just one match after Wimbledon, winning a round at the U.S. Open before withdrawing and ultimately shutting down his season due to bone bruising in his left arm. The ADP #9 has also parted ways with his longtime coach, James Trotman, and hired Andy Murray's old mentor Jamie Delgado. There are moments in sport when the headline is simply enough. For Emma Raducanu, a player whose trajectory once seemed like rocket fuel, that moment has arrived. Within just days of her decision to withdraw from the remainder of her 2025 season, three alarming concerns, physical, physiological, and psychological, have converged to cast a long shadow over what had been a promising comeback. 1. The physical fragility, body under siege. Raducanu's decision to call time on the year follows two consecutive episodes that jolted everyone's attention. First, at the Wuhan Open, she retired trailing 6-1, 4-1. Citing dizziness and requiring on-court medical attention in stifling heat and humidity. GB News +3 The Guardian +3 The Sun +3 Then, at the Ningbo Open a week later, she lost 3-6, 6-4, 6-1 to a wild card, required blood pressure checks, and again sought physio/back treatment mid-match. India Today +2 Last word on sports +2. When an athlete, especially a Grand Slam champion whose physical gifts are part of her appeal, begins to crumble not just in form, but in health mid-match, the issue is no longer just form or confidence. It becomes structural. Are the foundations of the body being eroded? It's damning because the sequence of events is clear. Illness/weakness, poor performance, withdrawal from tournament, season cut short. And for someone who earlier in the year did show signs of resurgence, ranking wins. These back-to-back setbacks force a new narrative. She is fragile, not only in result but in being. 2. The physiological alarm, internal systems signaling distress. It's one thing to see an athlete limp off court with an ankle sprain. It's another to see vitals checked mid-match, blood pressure, pulse, pupils. That's what happened in Wuhan. The Times Plus won the body, under extreme conditions, simply said no more. For Raducanu, this physiological alarm suggests more than fatigue. It suggests underlying imbalance, perhaps overuse, perhaps inadequate recovery, perhaps heat and humidity overload, perhaps an accumulation of stress. That is, it is not only muscles that are failing but the system. Consider this: an athlete with a demanding calendar, world-level travel, high expectations, and physical intensity. When the interior systems begin to falter, temperature regulation, blood pressure stability, back fatigue, movement efficiency, you're past can she win more matches? And into can she sustain this lifestyle? Hence, the second concern is damning because it shifts the problem from lack of wins into health jeopardy. And when health is compromised, everything else, training, scheduling, mental resilience, becomes at risk. 3. The psychological cost. Momentum lost, confidence shaken, future uncertain. Raducanu has always been admired for her poise, her breakthrough at a very young age, and the narrative of what might be. But with this triple concern, physical fragility, internal systems warning, and now a severed season, there's a psychological toll. Athletes are creatures of momentum. A good streak feeds confidence. A poor run drains it. For Raducanu, earlier this year, she posted 28 match wins, climbed back into the top 30. Tennis.com +2 Sky Sports +2 that suggested she was returning. But then the body rebelled at a crucial juncture. When you withdraw from tournaments, especially with vague but worrying health signals, the questions start. Am I reliable? Can I count on my body? That fissure introduces doubt, and doubt becomes self-fulfilling. What had looked like a comeback now begins to look like a stop-start saga. The psychological concern is damning because it threatens motivation and identity. Raducanu's identity is that of a champion in waiting, of someone who once stunned the tennis world and might again. But if she must now reframe herself as a contender whose body may betray her, the shift is heavy. The triple concern together. Why this is a critical juncture. Individually, any one of those three concerns might have been manageable. A niggle, a bad stretch, a slump. Together, they compound. The body is failing. The systems are sending red lights. The mind begins to question. Because of that, the decision to end the season early, withdraw from Tokyo and Hong Kong, was prudent. But it also signals something more, an acknowledgement that the current model is unsustainable. Sky Sports +1. The damning nature arises from what it says about the future. Unless addressed, the same issues will recur, and heightening stakes, grand slams, top-ranked opponents, demand more not less from the athlete. There's no easy fix. Recovery plus rest plus rebuilding plus sustained performance equals another 12 months of cutthroat sport, where the hope remains. Despite the concerns, this is not a death knell for Raducanu's career. Indeed, there are positives to build from.